Pretty sure I didn't give her a voice. Oh, there's all, like, cute death dolls here now. Oh, and an adorable little plague doctor. Breeze, hello? Welcome. This place really is creepy, isn't it? Well, being a dead room, it's probably full of the spirits of the dissected. But actually, there's a rather pleasing scent of roses in the air. Well, being a dead room, the coroner probably needs a bold scent like that to mask the odor of death. Iris, you think we could change the subject? Shink, 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 shink. What was that? Dr. Gory? What? That noise before. I was sharpening my tools. I'd be dead meat if I didn't keep a perfectly keen edge on them. Right. When following the collagen fibers in the dermis, an expertly sharpened scalpel cuts like cheese. Would you like a demonstration? Oh, yes, please. I'd love to see. Then I think you'll do nicely. No, I wouldn't do nicely at all. I mean, maybe some other time. Was that a tut? Did you tut me? We're not in a queue. Don't you tut me. Well, we came here to ask questions, so... Time of death. We've actually met before. I'm a lawyer, if you remember. You're not dead yet. What? So Mama said I wasn't to cut you open. She's so strict about things like that. This game rocks. I agree. Out of the two, this is obviously the second one, the second half of Chronicles. I think I did like the first half better. But this is still, if what are they called? Adventure and Resolve or something like that. If Adventure is now my favorite Phoenix Wright game, Resolve is probably still second place. Well, good. Dr. Sith has some scruples, at least. Oh dear. It looks like she's not interested in talking to us, for the time being anyway. For the time being? You mean until we die? I hope that's a way off. Sorry, but I wasn't planning on dying anytime soon. Surely there's some less drastic way of making her listen. Perhaps if I were to throw a candlestick at your head, I could shoot myself. Look at this. Can I ask your opinion about this? Don't forget, you're responsible for putting my mama in jail. Why should I help you? Spirit of there were things about Spirit of Justice that I liked. It got very, very wild at the end. It was very silly. It's probably one of my biggest reactions is when I forget her name, but when she transforms so that she can lawyer against you. When she's like, I shall become the prosecutor, and she changes into her final form. I do have a YouTube channel if you look down in my description, and I haven't streamed all of I've played all the Phoenix Wright games leading up to this one, but the only ones that I streamed were Dual Destinies and Spirit of Justice, and the Miles Edgeworth game. Oh, and the Professor Layton crossover. So yeah, so I've streamed all of them except for the initial trilogy and Apollo Justice. What am I supposed to show her? Would you like to see a picture of a dead body? Would that help? It would! How about this photograph, Dr. Gory? Who is that? Sorry? It's Inspector Gregson, of course, the victim of the case. Ah, I see. I don't remember the faces. Internal organs, muscle tissue, bullet trauma, butts. Those are the things I remember. Well, please try to also remember that I don't want to know anything at all about all of that. Alright, let's get rid of the autopsy. Talk to me. Oh, no. Yes, here we go. We actually came here to ask you about this. He was very good. Good? Sorry? His skin didn't snag my blade once, and very little mess. His joints dislocated easily, and his muscle tissue was a pleasure to work with. We can skip those details. But there's one thing about the report that's caught my attention. You don't seem to have recorded a time of death. That's not my fault. Oh, that made me jump. Then please, tell us what happened. Whoop. So why doesn't this autopsy report include the victim's time of death, then? It's really the most crucial detail. I was told not to write it. What? By whom? Male Strongheart, the Lord Chief Justice. He came here. Lord Strongheart came... He said that from the witness statements about the gunshot and the other evidence, it was obvious the man clearly died at 5 p.m. on 1st November when the gunshot was heard. But that's not the time of death you wrote on the report. You didn't write anything. Was there some reason you didn't include it? Dr. Gory, if you're hiding something under Lord Strongheart's instructions, then sooner or later you're going to go the same way as your mother. Give it here, then. What's she scribbling so furiously? There. You've written... What? What's she written? Tell us. Indeterminate. But... What do you mean by that? Why was the time of death indeterminate? When the specimen was brought in, it was still fresh. So the time of death could easily have coincided with when the gunshot was heard. But there was one small discrepancy. What discrepancy? There was some fried fish in the pocket of the specimen's overcoat. And that fish had started to rot. What? If the victim liked fried fish, he presumably liked to eat it before it went off. Well, yes. What are you really trying to say? It's possible that his fish and chips were magical. No. It's possible that someone tried to manipulate the apparent time of death. There was clearly a lot of fish. He's like, there was fish on him that had started to rot. 87,000 pounds of it. Manipulate the... Is that even possible to do? Theoretically, if you were to chill the body in ice, you could delay the onset of putrefaction. And if the overcoat wasn't on the body at the time, then only the fish would have started to rot. With today's science, it's not yet possible to determine if the body was chilled or not. But today's science is advanced enough to let you freeze a corpse, it seems. A couple of weeks ago, watched there was a documentary about, where, was it on? I don't remember what YouTube channel it was on, but it was about, like, people who, like, there's only a couple of companies that do it, but companies that will, like, you know, hey, you pay us a ton of money and we will freeze you after you die, and like with the quote unquote promise that we'll keep your body frozen for as long as it takes until science is discovered that can bring you back. Oh, preparing... yeah, I'm not into seeing food be prepared from scratch. It's kind of gross. And I'm not a huge fan of seafood. Which I guess means that I should be less upset about the crab dying? Who knows? But surely, to chill a corpse like that would require an enormous electrical refrigerator. And I don't imagine many households in London are equipped with such a device. No, definitely not. But maybe in a factory? Or some other special places. I don't recall seeing any factories or such like on Fresno Street, though. I wonder if the inspector's body had been chilled somehow. What might the actual time of death have been? Froze it alive. Oh, crab is explicitly seafood. Seafood. I couldn't say for sure. But at the most, it might have been a day earlier. No! In other words, it would corroborate your previous deduction, Mr. Naruhodo. That Inspector Gregson was killed a day before his body was discovered, at a different location. Did you inform Lord Strongheart of this possibility? He simply said that there were no electrical refrigerators of that size in the vicinity. Oh yes, one other thing. It's something the governor of Barclay Prison told us. He said that your mother, Dr. Seth, was responsible for confirming the death of the professor after his execution. The professor. Apparently, you always enjoyed listening to your mother's stories about her work, so we were wondering if you might know something about what happened 10 years ago. That's not all Mama did. Sorry? My mama carried out the autopsy of Clint Van Zeeks as well. What? Really? The brother of Lord Van Zeeks, the professor's final victim. This should hardly be a surprise, as she is the only autopsier in all of England, probably? All the autopsies get done by one person. All of them. The idea of carrying out an autopsy on a member of the aristocracy was completely unthinkable back then. But the detective in charge of the investigation insisted and was miraculously authorized. That detective being Inspector Gregson, of course. Quite an accomplishment for one man. That autopsy provided the vital clue needed to arrest the killer. And Mama was there for that historic event. What does all this mean? You know, that amazing autopsy happened right here, in this very room, the professor and Clint Van Zeeks. They both spent their final moments before their burial on that dissection table there. So this lab, Mama's lab, was instrumental in some of the country's most important events. She really is proud of her mother. I wonder if you'd tell us more about exactly what happened back then, Dr. Gorey. Do we... we do have a picture with her face now. And she's 19, of course. Like all doctors. Like all medical doctors. 19. The professor's execution was Mama's first big case. She had to be in attendance at Barclay Prison's execution chamber and sign the certificate to confirm the convict's death. Mama is the best coroner in the world, you know. I was so proud of her. But the execution didn't actually take place. No. And worse still, Mama actually helped with the jailbreak. I didn't want to know. Oh dear, you found out recently, you mean? All this time I could have been doing a Bane voice for her. I believed in her, in Mama. I believed in her, in Mama, but... Now I wonder if I'm starting down the same path as her. You mean because you omitted the time of death on this autopsy report? But that's because Lord Strongheart forbade you from including it. Just like Mama, I'm sure she was coerced by somebody too. Yes, that's my feeling as well. There's no doubt that there were powerful forces at play 10 years ago. The execution couldn't have been staged without a lot of people at the prison knowing about it. Obviously, the prison governor must have been in on it as well. The big man with the little handcuffs, according to what he told us, he was tricked by the chief warder. He says he knew nothing about it. Of course he said that. I'd say the same thing. Just who was behind that jailbreak all those years ago? So this is the first we'll be hearing anything about how Clint died, and I guess, if I recall, all of the professor's victims were bitten to death by dogs? You mentioned the autopsy of Clint Van Zieks. It was at a time when carrying out autopsies of murder victims was very unusual. It's still not a practice that's observed in our country, even now. It turned out that he was the professor's final victim, and when the autopsy was performed, Mama was present, although only as the secondary assistant. The person leading the procedure was called Dr. John H. Wilson. That's right, my daddy. And there was one other person present, the primary assistant. He was a visiting student from the Far East. Wait, a visiting student? It must have been my father, Eugene Mikotoba. I had no idea Professor Mikotoba had been involved in something so important. But the outcome of that historic autopsy was the discovery of a vital piece of evidence that led to the capture of the professor. So that's how they came to identify Genshin Asugi as the infamous mass murderer. Do you happen to know anything about that piece of evidence? Can you tell us any more? Would you like to see the records for yourself? What? Would that be all right? Yeah, she's far more forthcoming with all this information than we would have thought. What's the point of keeping records if people can't look at them? They're filed under V, the back of those cupboards, with the other records from the last decade. Thank you. Oh no, if only I hadn't completely messed up her Dewey Decimal System the last time I was in here. Because Faded told me to. Probably. Let's see. Van Zieks. That's strange. What, Mr. Naruhodo? They aren't here. There's nothing under Van Zieks. There must be. Perhaps somebody took them away. No. No one's allowed to take documents related to the professor case out of this room. But you're right. They're gone. Well, when was the last time somebody looked at them? Do you remember? It was... Oh yes, I remember now. It was 2 years ago. A consulting detective came one day saying he'd like to see the records. No, you don't mean... Herlock Sholmes was his name. Deep down, I knew that was coming. Do you think he stole the records? Oh no, surely not. Iris, that can't be right. Can it? Iris? Runo? I hope you don't mind, but... What is it, Iris? I've just remembered something very important I have to do. I'm going to have to leave you now. Oh, this is very sudden, Iris. Well, we'll come with you then. Oh, no, there's no need. You and Runo can take your time here. Bye for now, then. Good luck. Wait a minute, little girl. Me? I remember now. You've been here before, haven't you? Have you, Iris? Yes, 2 years ago, when that detective came. You were with him, weren't you? You were a living specimen then, too. That's the way it usually works. Was I? I really don't remember. Anyway, sorry, but I must dash. Wait, Iris! I'll brew a pot for you when we get home. When you get home. What's the matter with her? Well, it's a good thing I put a tracking chip on her. Now we can follow her. She's behaving really strangely all of a sudden. Well, in that case, we won't keep you any longer either. It's been quite a while since I had any visitors. This was really fun. But next time you come, I'd prefer it if you were ready for dissection. I can't make any promises, sorry. It's a bit strange that the records of Clint Van Zeek's autopsy have disappeared, but I think we've asked all we came to ask now. Extremely sus. Can we encounter her back at the apartment? Probably not. No. Can we find out anything else here? Maybe by examining the candle holder? Find some fingerprints on it? I don't know. The police are still busily investigating in here, then. But Jean is nowhere to be seen. Where is she? Yes, it has been blissfully quiet, hasn't it? Perhaps she's out investigating on her own, practicing what her boss taught her. Well, I expect she'll be back before too long. Shall we wait? No? Time can't progress unless my protagonist waves are allowed to work all over the city. Actually, there's something different about this room since the last time we were here, isn't there? Ah, it's a good thing I took a picture. Now I can look at both pictures side by side, cross my eyes, and the difference will pop out. Is it the wallpaper peeling? Or was that was peeled before? That's always been peeled. I'd never have imagined this little figurine would turn out to be a watch-winding key. I suppose it's a policeman because the pocket watch was a gift from Scotland Yard. It seems there was much more to Inspector Gregson than we ever realized. He was clearly a brilliant man. It's the fish and chips that threw us off. I feel as though it ruined his image. I don't really think we should blame one of Britain's staple cuisines. But think about it. Imagine if it was Mr. Sholmes. How would you feel if instead of that old briar pipe that's always in his hand, Mr. Sholmes had a bag of chips? Rather disappointed, if I'm honest. Exactly. Fish and chips, very disappointing. This revolver, just who does it belong to? Well, we know it's one of the type issued to members of the police force and judiciary. But Gregson's own gun was found on his person. And of course, Lord Van Zeeks has admitted to losing the firearm with which he was issued. Such absent-mindedness. Not dissimilar to you, Mr. Naruhodo. Starting to think the cold, hard prosecutor and I could become friends after all. Then I wish you every success. This little trunk wasn't here before, was it? Oh, it appears to be made of duralumin. It appears to be made of metal. It must be very heavy. I wonder to whom it belongs. There are some initials on the outside. Look. TG. Tobias Gregson, I guess. Who else's initials are TG? Pretty much everybody. John G. His initials are TG. Guy from Memento. Let's ask one of the policemen if they know how I came here. Oi, what do you think you're doing? That's my trunk, it is. Hands off. Gina. Where were you hiding? I don't know. You leave something unintended for a few seconds and every Tom, Dick and Harry's got his greedy eyes on it. Just a wild guess, Gina, but... What? Spit it out, Gino. Otto. Is it fair to say that you've only owned that trunk since this morning's trial? What? What are you trying to say? Come on, this trunk goes with me everywhere. Always has. Where you been the last... Where have you been the last year? Trying not to incur your wrath, mainly. You should hear him talking at the yard now. They should be ashamed of themselves. They're saying that it was the boss who killed all them bludgers. I mean the whole Reaper thing. Yeah. Apparently the boss was investigating stuff that no one else at the yard knew nothing about. Stuff to do with all them criminals what got off scot-free. Yes, the ones prosecuted by Lord Van Zieks who used bribery and corruption to evade conviction. Well then, obviously it was that Bloomer Reaper giving the orders, weren't it? But why would people be suspecting Inspector Gregson of being involved in the killings? There was a notebook hidden in his office. Oh no, this doesn't sound good. It had details about all the crimes that have been pegged as the Reaper's work. What? No. Did you see it, Gina? Did you see that notebook? They wouldn't flaming at me because I'm just an apprentice, apparently. But it was me who found it, and it was my boss. That's right. I was pretty miffed about it, so I sneaked a peek at what it said anyway. Oh, that's our Gina. Sasuga Gina-kun desu ne. So, you managed to see what was written in Gregson's secret notebook anyway, did you? Presumably, I mean, he was a police inspector. It would make sense for him to have a case notebook that was all about the Reaper killings, even if he wasn't the Reaper. Way I sit is my right to read what he wrote. And what had he written, Gina? Dates, times, places, names, an old long list of them. All details about the bludgers supposed to have done in by the Reaper. But there could be an explanation for that, said He-Ten like 30 seconds ago. Try to keep up. Perhaps it was a record of the Inspector's investigations into the Reaper's activities. Exactly, that's what I said. That's the first thing you'd think, right? As it happens, there were 4 names I recognized anyway. Well, the Reaper's targets were almost exclusively known leaders of London's criminal underworld. Well, yeah, but there was one name right at the end that was a bit odd. At the end of the list, you mean? I'm pretty sure the date against it was 31st October. Oh, the day before the Inspector was found dead. So, what was the odd name? It looked like a name I've ever seen before. It was something like, it's gonna be my name, isn't it? Nah, it's no good. I can't remember it. I don't think it was an English name, put it that way. Oh dear. What a pity. Yeah, she doesn't even know my name. There was something else too. Don't know if it matters, but the same name kept coming up over and over. Sin, it was. Don't suppose it means anything, but... Did you say... Shin? What? Does it mean something? Lord Van Zieks knew the name too. He mentioned her as well. The woman who actually did the deeds. And now, we find her name appeared in Gregson's secret notebook. Shouldn't be that shocking. We haven't seen you for a little while, have we, Gina? Well, of course not. I've been busy, ain't I? Investigating and that. The lads at the yard are trying to trace the boss's movements the day before it happened. The day before? That would be the undercover investigation into the Red-Headed League, then. Only the boss didn't go, did he? You found some cove what was pretending to be him, didn't you, Otto? Yes, it was Mr. Vigil who actually went to the park on Lime Street that day, posing as Gregson. Anyway, you ain't the only one turning stuff up. I've got my own ways of getting results. When me and my partner here get together, there's nothing we can't track down. Oh, little Toby, he's such a faithful friend. Bork. So, have you tracked anything down, then? What'd you think, eh? Of course we have. Can't tell you, though. Police business, ain't it? Ugh. Anyway, the point is, if you lot ever need any help, you know who to turn to. Right? Me and the Hellhound here. Right. Because he looks oh so hellish. Honest. The Hellhound. The Hellhound of the Baskervilles. The real murderer. Oh, Gene, about your Hellhound there. Chief Inspector Toby, you mean? He's a pride of the force, he is. In Japanese, police dog means something quite different and not altogether nice to those involved in crime. Wait, what? What? I guess, like, did the police use dogs as attack dogs exclusively, not as bloodhounds? But here in Britain, it's oh, maybe it was like a police dog, like, was a derogatory term for a police officer? Who knows? I'll look it up later. A police dog isn't really ever nice to someone involved in crime, yeah. I think that was an awkward, like, police dog, like, what would that be? Keisatsu Inu? I'll look it up real quick. What does Keisatsu Inu mean in Japanese? Police dog. But... nope, didn't help. I have no idea. Should be. After all, in the Great Exhibition case the other day, it was Toby here who managed to locate Drebber's workshop. Maybe it's time for another demonstration of what this super dog can do, eh? Do we have something the Chief Inspector could catch the scent of, I wonder? How about, a wig?
Take that!
Take that wig. Well, Chief Inspector Toby, if you wouldn't mind having a sniff of this. He might be a little too keen, don't you think? The Chief Inspector made short work of Gina there. Ah, look what he's gone to. Oh my, that trunk clearly still has a very strong scent. Of Inspector Gregson. In other words, it must have belonged to him. Freaking obviously. Oh, alright. It's a fair cop, I suppose. And you nearly got away with it, too. You always talk so proudly of Chief Inspector Toby's nose and what it can achieve. Did it not cross your mind that he might identify something that was right next to us? Yeah, that was a bit of a bloomer, wasn't it? That's enough now, Gina. I think it's time you told us the truth about that trunk. Dwang. It weren't like that. It just weren't. What are you talking about? I know what's going through that head of yours, but that ain't what happened. Alright then, what did happen? Well, like I said before, we were trying to trace the boss's movements. So I let Toby have a whiff of the boss's overcoat, and as soon as I done that, he went off like a shot. Straight to that sandwich. To a sandwich? Not to a bag of chips? Mr. Naruhodo, I believe Gina means the... Then frickin' say that. The witness. Does Sandwich... Oh, that Sandwich. The guy named Sandwich. Okay. I thought we were in for some Cockney rhyming slang. But no, it was a man named Sandwich. Earl. Earl Sandwich. Probably. Oh, I forgot about that sandwich. Yeah, he had it in between them wooden bones of his. The boss's trunk. You mean when they heard the sound like a gunshot and all piled in here? Exactly. He nabbed it from the scene. Goodness. And the chief inspector gave that sandwich a good grilling, and you know what he said? I thought it might fetch a good price, and the chap wouldn't be needing it anymore, so... But that's all I did. Nothing more, nothing less. Would you Adam and Eve the cheek of it? Eh? There's the Cockney rhyming slang. Would you Adam and Eve it? Stealing the dead boss's stuff to flog. So Miss Venus wasn't the only one to meddle with the scene of the crime then. How could they? So anyway, that's how it happened. And it's a pretty decent trunk, so I figured I might as well make use of it. Is there something wrong with that, eh? Well, maybe you and Mr. Sandwich should try to find the answer to that question together. Can I look at it now? Probably something inside. I think perhaps that trunk should be turned over to the police, don't you? What are you on about? I am the police! Gina, if you wouldn't mind, could we maybe examine it? Yeah, alright then. Do what you want with it. Thank you. We shall make a detailed record of our examination of the evidence. Boo-doo-bum. Shut up. Nobody cares what you want, dog. What's the matter with Toby? Why, he's acting so aggressively towards me all of a sudden. Mr. Naruhodo, be careful. It must be the trunk. Alright, well, fortunately I have a sword, and it's equipped. There. Thud. I killed it. Toby, oi, what are you doing? You're gonna lick his face off. Mr. Naruhodo! Mr. Naruhodo! Gina, quickly. Hail a what? Are you taking me to a hospital because a dog licked me? Okay, they didn't take me to the hospital. Oh, Mr. Naruhodo, are you all right? Miss Susato. Ah, conscious again, at last. A blessed relief, my dear fellow. After all, to drop dead like after a moderate licking by a small terrier. Most unseemly. What is or isn't unseemly is irrelevant here, Mr. Sholmes. And then he fell to his death. I'm so glad there was no lasting damage. How are you feeling? I'm fine, thank you, and I'll be even better after I file a lawsuit against Scotland Yard. Did you bring me back here? Oh, what's this on my head? A bandage? Sadly, we had no ice, so that's a compress of sugar water. Sugar water? Don't worry, Mr. Naruhodo. It's a first aid treatment that my father taught me. Oh, well, thank you, but he's not a doctor. Even though he did perform an autopsy. So, let us take tea when you're feeling up to it. Of course, no sugar in the patient's cup. The bump on my head is throbbing sweetly enough, don't worry. Hee hee. Puns. Whenever you feel ready, then. Aye. Thank you for your concern, Mr. Sholmes. My dear fellow, think nothing of it. I must say I was quite startled when I heard that you'd been attacked by a dog. For a moment, I feared that the infamous murderer of so many had come back from the dead. You mean the professor? Fortunately, I see your prized throat is unscathed. That stiff, upturned collar of yours obviously afforded some welcome protection. Was I that close to death? It was only a level 1 dog. All I really remember is the dog licking my face over and over and over again. But it had, I don't know, tranquilizer on its tongue? Put me into a coma? Well, if you wish to avoid such troubles in the future, Soparel! There we go. I was trying to be 999 specific. Did he have Soparel on his tongue, and that's why I went unconscious? Well, if you wish to avoid such troubles in the future, a little mustard spread on the cheeks should do the trick. I should think that would balance the sweetness of your bandage rather splendidly. Is the bandage on my cheeks? Because that's weird. Are you alright, Mr. Naruhodo? It's rather unusual to find ourselves here in the middle of our investigations. It just occurred to me that I might have forgotten something when we left this morning. Oh, this is the generic what to do. Has nothing to do with what we're actually doing in the story. I guess I have to leave.
Schwarzbiergebot, Boden, Wien, Feuerberg, den Schlund es mir verbrannt, ach, Hopfen, deine Wut.
Pretty sure that's Mary Had a Little Lamb. What in Europe is going on in here? Am I having a bad dream? Ah, no, it's an old German folk song. Rather a fine rendition, I think. That's the least of my concerns. Iris? What's the matter? Who is that that relaxed gentleman over there? Iris? Is she even listening? Excuse me, sir. I do apologize for troubling you whilst you're singing so merrily, but would you be kind enough to explain the situation? Well, that worked. A crooning gentleman and a mute girl. A rather tantalizing juxtaposition. Gap moe, they call it. And one that appears to have incited the gods of deduction within me to find their voices too. Mr. Sholmes, do you mean? The strains of reasoning within me are playing now as a delightful duet. One melody sings of a reunion full of nostalgia, whilst the other is a morose theme about the great secret you're trying so desperately to conceal, Iris. She's turned as white as a sheet. So as usual, you've instantly seen to the very heart of the matter. And by the time my own brief performance is over, I feel sure this gentleman's song will reach its finale. So then, to Musicland, where all is sweetness and delicacy and harmony. So let me check the time again. Because I have something that I need to do in game in Final Fantasy we can probably get through this. Yeah. All right. So we'll do this deduction, and then immediately afterwards, I will be ending the stream to go log in. Pray, do enjoy Sherlock Holmes' latest logic and reasoning spectacular. The game is afoot. Firstly, we consider the Sorry. Firstly, we consider the gentleman's nationality. Clearly, he is a German with no grasp of the English language, as evidenced by the Germanic song he sings and his apparent inability to understand when asked to desist. So, why is the man here at all, and in such apparently high spirits? The answer, of course, Iris, is clearly known to you. Indeed, we need only follow the gaze of those bright young eyes to unravel that particular part of this mystery. The reason for the man's mildly irritated wobbling is revealed by the herbal tea. You obviously offered our German guest a cup of your latest herbal blend. The tea's delectable flavor has made the man's spirits soar, and resulted in this joyous ditty tumbling incessantly from his lips. I eagerly await sampling the flavor myself, that I may join the fellow in his state of elation. Now, to the next question. Who, exactly, is this gentleman availing himself so thoroughly of the settee? As it happens, a number of years ago now, a certain gentleman of German origin engaged my services in solving a particularly delicate case. He required the retrieval of letters once sent to an acquaintance that might have proved problematic. In order to conceal his noble identity, he also arrived at my office in a mask. The gentleman's name was Wilhelm Gottsreich Sigismund von Ormstein. Stein? The King of Germany. If my memory serves, the mask worn by this gentleman is identical. Yes, there can be no question that mask belongs to the King of Germany. It's the mask that Cosimo was wearing. It would appear that His Majesty remembers the fine service I afforded him, but has decided to show his face again, mask and all, in order to express his gratitude. A well-mannered monarch, indeed. Wouldn't you agree, my dear fellow? So, the identity of this masked visitor is in fact my former client, the King of Germany. Indeed, his son is currently in London as well, enjoying the wonders of the Great Exhibition. The King of Germany. Very well. On to topic 2. Which leaves us with one remaining imponderable. Yes, you, young Iris. but your apparently inexplicable silence is unable to hide the truth. Well, she has something in her mouth, apparently. Yes, the reason for your muteness is concealed within that knapsack. A £5 note, I believe. I must say, as your compatriot, I'm deeply saddened. It would appear that you've allowed yourself to be bribed into silence by His Royal Highness, earning yourself some spending money in exchange for keeping quiet about the King's secret. And now, the final piece of the puzzle. What is this secret you strive to hide with your silence, Iris? Ah yes, we need only follow that brief, involuntary twitch of your eyes to find the answer. You are attempting to abscond with that coffee cup. My favorite coffee cup, in fact, or should I say, the handle of my favorite coffee cup. It appears that His High-Spirited Highness broke it in the midst of his hijinks. Which leads us to the sad truth. My favorite coffee cup has been broken by the King of Germany, and you, Iris, you tried to conceal it from me. I shall have a bill sent via government channels to the German royal family for its replacement. Thus concludes Herlock Sholmes' great deduction of this painful puzzle.
Mit dem Schwarzbiergebot, Bodend Wien, Feuerberg, den Schlund.
With your silence as well, the fellow's jovial warbling rather rings in the ears, does it not? Mr. Sholmes, I must say something does rather trouble me.
Pray, Mr. Sato, do tell.
His Royal Highness doesn't appear to have moved a muscle since we arrived.
Ah.
And you haven't said a word either, Iris. If Mr. Sholmes has it all right, you might as well own up to it now. Your reasoning isn't entirely without substance, I must admit. And one other thing, Mr. Sholmes.
Yet another grievance, Mr. Naruhodo. Surely not.
Well, actually, I read the story of that case recently, the one you were just describing, and according to that, at least, it wasn't the King of Germany, it was the King of Bohemia.
Goodness. Was it?
Yes, that's quite true. Master Gotz, the prince, testified to that in court. In his words, I have come to see the great exhibition all the way from my home in Bohemia.
I would ask you to keep that minor error to yourselves. It could easily become quite a scandal.
I believe, Mr. Naruhodo, that it's our turn now to make some corrections to a number of minor errors that may have slipped in. Yes, even Mr. Sholmes is willing to admit he might be slightly wide of the mark this time. Though it's clear that Iris is definitely hiding something. We need to find out the truth behind this mysterious scene.
But one truth is incontrovertible. My favorite coffee cup is no more.
I figured it must be. There was a reference to a Sherlock Holmes story. I think I'll be cutting it too close, though, if we go ahead with the... So we'll have to split it up. We will resume next time with some deduction correcting of Mr. Sherlock Holmes. Next stream is going to be... Alright, so here's the plan. Here's the planety plan. No stream Monday. Tuesday, I'm going to stream the old Stanley Parable, the current Stanley Parable, which I've played before off stream, but not on stream. And it'll just be like to remember, what happens in it. And then Wednesday, I wouldn't normally stream Wednesday, but we'll stream Wednesday and play the new Stanley Parable. And then I guess Thursday? Thursday I'll come back to this? Yeah, sure, why not? We'll do it that way. Yeah. Alright, so we'll be back to play more of this on Thursday. So thank you for coming by. I hope you enjoyed. If you would like, tune in on Tuesday for old Stanley Parable. Tune in on Wednesday for the new Stanley Parable, which might turn into more than one stream, but, you know, I'll again, alternate it with this game. At least that is the plan. And if the plan doesn't go to plan, then on Wednesday, I guess I'll do nothing. And then on Thursday, I'll come back to this. So thank you, everybody, for being here, and I hope to see you next time.